The neon sign outside Mama Lou's all-night diner flickered like a dying heartbeat red, then dark, then red again, casting bloody shadows across the rain-soaked Atlanta streets. Inside, Zara Williams wiped down the same counter for the third time that hour, her body moving on autopilot, while her mind wandered to places she'd rather not go. 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. The graveyard shift. The shift nobody wanted except people like her, people with secrets to hide and bills that wouldn't wait. Her breasts ached, the familiar, cruel reminder that her body hadn't gotten the message yet, hadn't understood that there was no baby to feed anymore. 3 weeks since she'd buried her daughter. 3 weeks since she'd held Aaliyah's tiny, perfect body and felt her take her last breath. And still, her milk came. Still, her body prepared for a child who would never cry for her again. Zara pressed her hand against her chest, trying to ease the pressure. Her uniform, a faded pink dress with Mama Lou's embroidered over the pocket, had wet spots spreading across the fabric. She'd forgotten to change the breast pads again. Forgot a lot of things these days. Sleep, food. Why any of this mattered. The bell above the door chimed. Zara looked up, her customer service smile automatic and empty. Then she saw them, and the smile died on her lips. 4 men in suits that cost more than her annual salary. 3 of them positioned themselves like soldiers, one by the door, 2 flanking the 4th man. The 4th man. He was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Tall, maybe 6'2", with the kind of face that belonged in a Cologne ad, sharp jawline, high cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed to see everything. His black hair was perfectly styled despite the rain outside. His suit was charcoal gray, custom-tailored, probably Italian. A thin scar ran from his left eyebrow to his temple, the only imperfection on an otherwise flawless face. And in his arms, wrapped in a blue blanket, was a baby. A baby who was screaming like the world was ending. "Please." The beautiful man's voice was deep, accented Korean. Zara thought and cracked with desperation that didn't match his expensive exterior. "Please, my nephew needs help. He won't stop crying. 3 days now. He refuses every bottle." Zara's heart clenched. The baby's cries were hoarse, weakening. She'd heard that sound before, the sound of a child giving up. "Sir, you need a hospital, not a diner. Hospitals ask questions." One of the other men spoke, his English rougher. "Questions we cannot answer." The beautiful man shot him a look that could have cut glass, then turned back to Zara. His dark eyes pleaded in a way his mouth didn't. "Please. Just look at him." Zara shouldn't. Should call the police. Should turn away. Should protect herself from the pain of holding another baby when hers was cold in the ground. But she stepped closer anyway. The baby was maybe 3 days old. His face was red and swollen from crying, his little fists beating weakly against the man's chest. His lips had a slight blue tinge that made Zara's nursing school training kick in before her grief could stop it. "He's dehydrated," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "When did he last eat?" "He won't take the bottle," the man repeated. His jaw was tight, like he was barely holding himself together. "The formula." He spits it out, screams. "The doctor said he needs mother's milk, but his mother..." His voice broke. "His mother died. Birth complications." Zara's eyes stung. She knew that pain. Different, but the same. Loss. The kind that hollowed you out. "I work at the children's hospital," the man continued, words tumbling faster. "I'm a pediatrician, Dr. Kang Min-jae. These are my colleagues. We've tried everything. Please. I don't know what else to do." A pediatrician. That didn't explain the suits, the guards, the way they'd positioned themselves like they expected an attack. But Zara looked at the dying baby and nothing else mattered. "I just lost my daughter," she heard herself say. The words tasted like ash. 3 weeks ago. My body still thinks." She gestured to the wet spots on her uniform. Dr. Kang's eyes widened. Then, to Zara's shock, he dropped to his knees, right there in the middle of the diner, still holding the baby. A man in a $3,000 suit, kneeling on the sticky linoleum floor. "Please," he whispered. "Please save him. I'll pay you anything. Give you anything. Please don't let him die too." The baby's cries were fading. Zara watched his little chest struggle with each breath. She made a decision that would change everything. "The back booth," she said quietly, "away from the windows." Relief crashed across Dr. Kang's face like a wave. He stood gracefully despite his expensive suit and followed her to the booth tucked in the corner. His men moved without being told. One pulled the curtain across the front window. Another flipped the open sign to closed. The third positioned himself by the back door. Professional, military, not the behavior of hospital colleagues. Zara slid into the booth and held out her arms. Dr. Kang hesitated for just a heartbeat, then carefully transferred the baby to her. The weight of him, the warmth it broke, something open inside Zara's chest. Pain and longing and a fierce, sudden need to save this child since she couldn't save her own. "What's his name?" she asked, unbuttoning her uniform with shaking fingers. "Kang Ji-hoon." Dr. Kang sat across from her, close enough that his cologne, something expensive and woodsy, cut through the diner's usual smell of grease and coffee. "It means wisdom and honor." "That's beautiful." Zara lifted her bra and brought Ji-hoon to her breast. For 3 eternal seconds, nothing happened. The baby's mouth brushed against her nipple, confused, too weak to latch. Then his survival instincts kicked in. He latched on desperately, and the relief that flooded through Zara was almost painful. Her milk let down fast, and Ji-hoon drank like he'd been wandering in a desert. The diner fell completely silent except for the soft sounds of nursing and the rain against the windows. Zara looked up and found Dr. Kang staring at her. Not at the baby, at her. His dark eyes were wide and intense, fixed on her face like she was performing a miracle instead of doing what women's bodies had done for millennia. "You're saving his life," he whispered. His voice shook. "Right now, in this moment, you're saving his life." "I'm just feeding a hungry baby," Zara said softly, but tears were sliding down her cheeks, because this felt like more. Felt like the universe giving her a chance to do what she couldn't do for Aaliyah. To help, to matter, to keep a baby alive. Ji-hoon's tiny hand curled against her breast, and Zara's heart cracked wide open. Dr. Kang leaned forward, his elbows on the table. "Tell me your name, please." "Zara. Zara Williams." "Zara." He said it carefully, like he was tasting something precious. "I'm Kang Min-jae, but you can call me Min-jae." His eyes never left her face. You're unlike anyone I've ever met. You don't know me. I know you lost your daughter 3 weeks ago and you're still drowning in grief. I know you're working the night shift at a diner when you should be home healing. I know every instinct told you to turn us away, but you helped anyway because a baby was dying." Min-jae's hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers. "I know you're extraordinary." Zara shook her head. "I'm just a woman who made a lot of bad choices and ended up here. Then we have something in common." There was something in his toned darkness, secrets that made Zara look at him more closely. The expensive suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. The scar on his face told stories his mouth wouldn't, and his hands, resting on the table, had scarred knuckles that didn't come from hospital work. "You're not really a pediatrician, are you?" Zara asked quietly. Min-jae's jaw tightened. "I am. I have a medical degree from Seoul National University. But," he glanced at his men, "I also have other responsibilities. Family business. Family business that requires armed guards. Complicated family business." His eyes met hers again. "But Ji-hoon is my brother's son. My brother day one, and his wife Mi-sun. They died together, car accident while she was in labor. The doctor saved Ji-hoon, but..." His voice broke. "But now I'm all he has. And I'm trying to save him, but I'm failing." The raw pain in his voice was real. Whatever else he was lying about, that grief was true. Ji-hoon finally released Zara's breast. Milk-drunk and peaceful. His color had returned. His breathing was steady. He looked like a different baby than the one who'd come through the door. "He's beautiful," Zara whispered, adjusting her bra and buttoning her uniform. "Because of you." Min-jae stood and moved to her side of the booth. He carefully lifted Ji-hoon from her arms, and their hands touched. Electricity shot up Zara's arm, sudden and shocking. Min-jae felt it too. His eyes widened, and he looked at her like she'd just revealed something impossible. "This can't be the last time," he said urgently. "Ji-hoon needs you. He'll need to feed again in a few hours. Please, Zara. Please let me come back. I work every night, midnight to 8 a.m., then I'll be here every night." Min-jae reached into his jacket. Zara tensed, but he only pulled out a wallet. He counted out $100 bills until there was a stack of 50 on the table. $5,000. "I can't accept that," Zara gasped. "You saved my nephew's life. This is nothing." Min-jae pulled out a business card and wrote a number on the back. "This is my private number. Only 3 people in the world have it. Now you're the 4th. If you need anything, protection, money, help of any kind, you call me. day or night. Why would I need protection? Min-jae's expression went dark. Because the moment you fed Ji-hoon, you became important to me. And people who are important to me become targets for my enemies. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. I won't let anyone hurt you, Zara. That's a promise. You don't even know me. I know enough. His thumb brushed her cheekbone, the touch gentle but possessive. I know that in a city of 5 million people, the universe put you in this diner at exactly the right moment. I know that my nephew recognized you somehow, trusted you. I know that when you held him, something in my chest started working again. His dark eyes burned into hers. I know that I'm not letting you go. Zara should have been frightened, should have pushed him away, should have run. But she felt something stirring inside her that she thought had died with Aaliyah. Hope, purpose, the dangerous, foolish desire to matter to someone. I should get back to work, she whispered, not moving. Tomorrow night, Min-jae said. Not a question. Same time. I'll bring Ji-hoon. Okay. His smile transformed his face from beautiful to devastating. Okay. He left with his men and his nephew, and the diner felt colder without them. Zara sat in the booth, staring at the money on the table and the business card with his number. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Thank you for giving him a chance at life. Sleep well, Zara. You're under my protection now, whether you want it or not. MJ. Zara's hands trembled as she stared at the message. Under his protection. Like she belonged to him already. She should be terrified. Instead, she saved his number. Outside in the rain, Min-jae sat in the back of a black Mercedes. Ji-hoon sleeping peacefully in his arms for the first time in days. His second-in-command, Tae-yang, drove, while the other guards followed in a separate vehicle. Boss, Tae-yang said carefully. The woman, are you sure about this? About what? Min-jae didn't look up from Ji-hoon's sleeping face. Getting her involved. She's a civilian. Innocent. If the Kozlov brothers find out you care about her, then I'll kill the Kozlov brothers before they can touch her. Min-jae's voice was flat, final. Zara saved Ji-hoon's life, Tae-yang. That makes her family, and I protect my family. You just met her. I know. Min-jae finally looked up, and his expression made Tae-yang's breath catch. It was the look of a man who just found something he couldn't live without. I know it doesn't make sense, but when she held Ji-hoon, when she looked at me with those eyes full of grief and strength, he shook his head. I felt something I haven't felt since before Daewon died, like maybe there's still good in this world. Like maybe I'm not completely lost. Boss, you can't fall for her. Not now. Not with the territory war heating up and the FBI investigation. I'm not falling for her, Min-jae lied. I'm just making sure Ji-hoon gets what he needs. But as they drove through Atlanta's rain-slicked streets toward his penthouse in Buckhead, Min-jae couldn't stop thinking about Zara's eyes. The way she'd cried while feeding Ji-hoon. The strength in her hands despite her obvious exhaustion. The milk stains on her uniform that told stories of unbearable loss. She was broken. He was broken. And somehow, in that diner at 2:47 a.m., two shattered people had found a moment of grace. Min-jae looked down at Ji-hoon, who was sleeping peacefully for the first time since coming home from the hospital. Your mama would have loved her, he whispered in Korean. Would have called her an angel. Ji-hoon's tiny hand curled in sleep, and Min-jae made a decision that would change everything. He was going to make Zara his. Not just for Ji-hoon, for himself, and God help anyone who tried to stop him. 24 hours later, Zara stepped into the diner for her shift, and knew immediately something was different. The entire place had been cleaned. Deep cleaned. The floors gleamed. The windows sparkled. Even the ancient coffee maker that had been broken for 6 months was fixed and gleaming chrome. Her manager, Lou, a 60-year-old black woman who'd owned the diner for 30 years, stood by the counter with her arms crossed and an expression Zara couldn't read. What happened? Zara asked. A man came by this afternoon, Lou said slowly. Asian. Expensive suit. Said his name was Dr. Kang. Said he wanted to thank me for employing such a wonderful woman. Lou's eyes narrowed. He paid to have the whole diner renovated. New equipment, new floor, everything. Then he left an envelope for you. Lou held out a manila envelope. Zara opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a contract. And a check for $20,000. The contract was simple. Zara would provide breast milk for Kang Ji-hoon for 6 months, or until he was weaned. In exchange, she would receive $5,000 per week, full medical coverage, and a furnished apartment in a secure building. There was a note paper-clipped to the contract in elegant handwriting. Zara, this is not payment for what you gave us last night. That was priceless. This is simply ensuring you're safe and cared for while you help my nephew. The apartment has 24-hour security. You'll never work a graveyard shift again unless you want to. The choice is yours. But please understand, I meant what I said. You're under my protection now. I've had people watching your apartment. The neighborhood isn't safe. Let me provide you with something better. If you agree, I'll come to the diner tonight at 3 a.m. to finalize details. If you don't agree, I'll respect your decision and never contact you again. Though I hope you'll say yes. For Ji-hoon. For me. Min-jae. Zara stared at the check. $20,000. More money than she'd ever seen in one place. Girl, Lou said quietly. What did you do for this man? I fed his baby, Zara whispered. He was dying, Lou. I fed him. Lou's expression softened. She knew about Aaliyah. Knew about Zara's loss. And now this doctor wants to pay you to keep feeding the baby? It's not. It's more complicated than that. Is he dangerous? Zara thought about the guards. The way Min-jae had moved. The scar on his face. Yes, but you're thinking about saying yes anyway. I don't know. Zara's eyes burned. Lou, my body still makes milk for a baby who's dead. Every day it's like my body is mocking me, reminding me that Aaliyah is gone. But if I could use it to help Ji-hoon. Her voice broke. Maybe it would mean something. Maybe losing her wouldn't be completely meaningless. Lou pulled Zara into a hug. Baby, losing your daughter isn't meaningless. It's tragic and unfair and wrong. But if helping this man's nephew gives you a way to heal. She pulled back, looking Zara in the eyes. Just be careful. Men who throw around this kind of money usually have dangerous enemies. I know. But when 3 a.m. came and Min-jae walked through the door with Ji-hoon in his arms, Zara already knew her answer. She was going to say yes. God help her. She was going to walk straight into danger with her eyes wide open. Because the alternative continuing to exist in her grief without purpose was worse than any physical threat, and because when Min-jae looked at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd ever whispered, she felt something she hadn't felt since Aaliyah died. She felt alive. The apartment Min-jae had secured for Zara wasn't an apartment, it was a fortress disguised as luxury. Midtown Atlanta, 20th floor of a glass tower that gleamed like a diamond against the skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Piedmont Park. Marble countertops in a kitchen bigger than her old entire apartment. A bedroom with a bed so large she could sleep sideways. And a nursery. A fully equipped nursery with a crib, changing table, rocking chair, and every baby item she could possibly need. This is too much, Zara whispered, standing in the middle of the living room while Min-jae's men brought in the few boxes she owned from her old place. Min-jae stood by the window, Ji-hoon sleeping against his shoulder. He'd taken off his suit jacket, and his white dress shirt was slightly rumpled. He looked tired. Human. Less like the dangerous man who'd walked into her diner, and more like an exhausted uncle trying to care for a newborn. It's the minimum, Min-jae said. You'll be feeding Ji-hoon every 3 to 4 hours. It makes sense for you to have space for him to sleep here. Supplies, everything you need. Min-jae, this place probably costs more per month than I made in a year at the diner. He turned to look at her, and the intensity in his dark eyes made her breath catch. Money means nothing to me, Zara. Ji-hoon's life means everything. And your safety. He paused. Your safety also means everything. Why? The question burst out before she could stop it. You don't know me. Why do you care so much? Min-jae crossed the room slowly, still holding the sleeping baby. He stopped close enough that Zara could smell his cologne, cedar, and something darker, more complex. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Do you believe in fate? He asked quietly. I don't know what I believe anymore. My brother Daewon and I used to argue about it. Min-jae's voice was soft, almost hypnotic. He believed everything happened for a reason, that the universe had a plan. I thought it was random chaos, that we made our own meaning. He looked down at Ji-hoon. But then he died, and me son died, and this baby was all that was left of them. And Ji-hoon was dying too. Refused every bottle, every formula. The doctors said he needed mother's milk. But where do you find that at 2 a.m. in Atlanta? Min-jae's eyes met hers again. Except there you were, in a diner I'd never been to before, working a shift you normally don't work, with milk meant for your own lost daughter. His hand came up, fingers barely brushing her cheek. Tell me that's random chaos, Zara. Tell me the universe didn't put you there specifically to save him. Zara's throat tightened. Or maybe it's just a tragic coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Min-jae's thumb traced her cheekbone. I believe you were meant to save Ji-hoon. And I believe, he paused, his jaw tightening. I believe you were meant to save me too. I can't save anyone, Zara whispered. I couldn't even save my own daughter. She was premature, right? 26 weeks? Zara's eyes widened. How did you know that? I had my people look into you. I'm sorry, I know that's invasive, but I needed to know you were safe. Min-jae's expression was unapologetic. Aaliyah Williams, born 3 months early due to placental abruption, lived for 6 beautiful hours, died of respiratory failure despite everything the NICU team tried. Tears streamed down Zara's face. Don't. You held her while she died, Min-jae continued, his voice gentle but relentless. Sang to her, told her she was loved. The nurses said they'd never seen a mother so devoted to a baby who had no chance. His hand cupped her face fully now. You didn't fail her, Zara. You loved her perfectly for every second she was alive. That's not failure. That's grace. Zara broke. The grief she'd been holding at bay for 3 weeks crashed over her like a tsunami. She sobbed, her whole body shaking, and Min-jae pulled her against his chest, careful of Ji-hoon between them, and held her while she fell apart. I've got you, he murmured in Korean, then English. I've got you. Let it out. She cried until she had nothing left, until her body was wrung dry, and her head ached, and her eyes were swollen. Through it all, Min-jae held her steady, one arm around her waist, one supporting Ji-hoon, his chin resting on top of her head. When she finally pulled back, embarrassed and exhausted, Min-jae's shirt was soaked with her tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. He shifted Ji-hoon to one arm and used his free hand to wipe her tears. Grief that big doesn't just disappear. It needs to come out. You sound like you know from experience. I do. Min-jae's expression darkened. Losing day one. He was my best friend. My only real family. When he died, I wanted to burn the world down. He looked at Ji-hoon. But then I had to take care of his son. Had to be strong for him, so I buried it. Pushed it down. His eyes met Zara's. Until I saw you holding Ji-hoon in that diner, crying while you fed him. And I realized we were the same, both drowning, both trying to save someone else because we couldn't save the people we lost. The moment stretched between them, heavy with understanding. 2 broken people recognizing each other's scars. Ji-hoon stirred and whimpered. Min-jae checked his watch. It's been 3 hours. He'll be hungry soon. Zara wiped her eyes. I should change. Get cleaned up. Take your time. I'll wait. In the luxurious bathroom, Zara washed her face and changed into comfortable clothes, soft leggings, and a loose shirt that made nursing easier. When she emerged, Min-jae had settled on the large sectional sofa, Ji-hoon beginning to fuss. She sat beside him, and Min-jae handed her the baby without hesitation. The trust in that gesture, the way he placed his nephew in her arms like it was the most natural thing in the world, made something warm bloom in Zara's chest. Ji-hoon latched immediately, and blessed silence filled the apartment. You're good at this, Min-jae said softly. I wanted to be a nurse. Zara stroked Ji-hoon's soft hair. Before. Everything. I was in nursing school. But when I got pregnant, I had to drop out. Couldn't afford tuition and prepare for a baby. What happened to Ji-hoon's father? If you don't mind me asking. Aaliyah's father, Zara corrected gently. He was a mistake. A guy I met at a party. He disappeared when I told him I was pregnant. I don't even know his real last name. She smiled bitterly. I have excellent judgment in men. His loss. Min-jae's voice was fierce. Any man who walked away from you is a fool. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you work 3 jobs to survive. I know you sent money to your mother in Jamaica every month even when you could barely afford food. I know you kept going to church every Sunday even after Aaliyah died because your grandmother would want you to. Min-jae leaned closer. I know you're the strongest woman I've ever met, Zara. And I know that any man would be honored to stand beside you. Zara's breath caught. The way he looked at her like she was something precious instead of broken made her feel things she had no right to feel. Tell me the truth, she said quietly. What's your family business, Min-jae? Because I know you're not just a pediatrician. Min-jae's jaw tightened. He was silent for so long that Zara thought he wouldn't answer. Then he sighed. My family controls most of the Korean organized crime operations in the southeast, he said flatly. My father built the empire. My brother Dae-won was supposed to inherit it. When our father died 5 years ago, Dae-won took over. Min-jae stood and walked to the window, his back to her. But Dae-won hated it. Hated the violence, the corruption, all of it. He was trying to transition everything legitimate when he died. And now you're in charge, Zara said. Now I'm in charge of something I never wanted. Min-jae's voice was bitter. I actually am a pediatrician, Zara. I went to medical school, wanted to help children, but family duty. He laughed darkly. Family duty doesn't care what you want. Why are you telling me this? Zara's heart pounded. You could have lied, because you deserve to know what you're getting involved in. Min-jae turned to face her. My enemies are brutal, Zara. Russian mob, Yakuza, rival Korean gangs, they'd all love to hurt me. And the fastest way to hurt me is to hurt someone I care about. Someone like Ji-hoon. Someone like Ji-hoon, Min-jae agreed. And someone like you. The weight of those words settled over the room like snow. I should be scared, Zara whispered. You should run. But I'm not going to. Min-jae crossed back to the sofa, kneeling in front of her. His hands rested on her knees, and even through her leggings, she felt the heat of his touch. Why not? He asked. Why aren't you running? Because that baby in my arms needs me. Because you need me, whether you want to admit it or not. Zara met his eyes, and because for the first time since Aaliyah died, I feel like I have a purpose. Like maybe I'm here for a reason. You are here for a reason. Min-jae's hands tightened on her knees. But Zara, I need you to understand something. If you do this, if you become part of Ji-hoon's life, part of my life, there's no going back. My world will swallow you whole. You'll be a target. You'll need protection 24/7. Your freedom will be limited. I don't have much freedom now, Zara pointed out. I'm working minimum wage jobs, barely surviving, drowning in medical bills from Aaliyah's NICU stay. At least this way, I'm doing something meaningful. This isn't just about feeding Ji-hoon anymore. Min-jae's voice dropped lower, more intense. You have to know that. What is it about, then? It's about the fact that I can't stop thinking about you. The confession came out rough, almost angry. It's about the fact that I saw you for 5 minutes in a diner and you've been in my head ever since. It's about the fact that when you hold my nephew, I see things I never thought I'd have. Family, peace, a future that doesn't end in blood and violence. Zara's pulse raced. Min-jae, I know it's insane. I know I should keep this professional, keep my distance. But I can't. His hand slid up from her knees to her thighs, the touch making her shiver. Tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me I'm alone in this. She should lie, should protect herself, should remember that she was holding a baby and this man was dangerous and everything about this was wrong. But Zara had spent 3 weeks being numb, 3 weeks feeling nothing but grief and emptiness. And now Min-jae was looking at her like she was the answer to every question he'd ever had, and she felt alive again. You're not alone, she whispered. Min-jae's eyes darkened. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his lips brushed hers. Soft, questioning, achingly gentle. Zara kissed him back, her free hand tangling in his hair while Ji-hoon nursed peacefully between them, oblivious to the adults falling for each other above him. The kiss deepened. Min-jae's tongue traced her lower lip and she opened for him, tasting coffee and something sweet. His hand cupped the back of her neck, angling her head for better access, and Zara melted into him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. This is dangerous, he murmured. Everything about you is dangerous. I could get you killed. I could break your heart. Min-jae laughed softly. I don't think I have much heart left to break. Then his expression grew serious. But whatever's left of it. It's yours, Zara. From the moment you fed my nephew, it was yours. The next 2 weeks fell into a pattern that felt almost normal. Almost. Min-jae came to the apartment every day around 2 p.m. Sometimes he brought Ji-hoon. Sometimes his men brought the baby while Min-jae was handling business he never detailed. Zara fed Ji-hoon every 3 to 4 hours. Learning his cries, his preferences, the way he liked to be held. She also learned, Min-jae, learned that he took his coffee black with 1 sugar, that he was fluent in 5 languages, that he had a scar on his ribcage from a knife fight when he was 17, that he played piano beautifully but never in front of others, that he was terrified of failing Ji-hoon the way he thought he'd failed day 1. You didn't fail your brother, Zara told him one evening. They were on the sofa, Ji-hoon asleep in the nursery, rain drumming against the windows. Car accidents aren't predictable. It wasn't an accident. Min-jae's voice was flat. He was drinking scotch, staring out at the city lights. It was the Kozlov brothers, Russian mob trying to muscle into our territory. They ran day 1 and me son off the road, made it look like an accident. Zara's blood ran cold. And the police? The police don't investigate car accidents involving known criminals very thoroughly. Min-jae's jaw clenched, especially when evidence mysteriously disappears. What did you do? What do you think I did? He looked at her, and his eyes were empty. Dead. I made them pay. Every single person involved. Slowly, publicly, so everyone would know what happens when you touch my family. Zara should have been horrified, should have run screaming. But she thought about Aaliyah, about the helpless rage she'd felt watching her daughter die, and understood. How many? She asked quietly. 12. No hesitation, no remorse. 12 men who decided day one's life was worth less than territory and money. Do you regret it? No. Min-jae set down his glass and moved to sit beside her. I'd do it again. I'd kill 1,000 men to protect the people I love. His hand found hers. I'd kill for Ji-hoon. I'd kill for you. Don't say that. Why not? It's the truth. Min-jae pulled her closer. You're mine now, Zara. The moment you fed my nephew, the moment you let me into your life, you became mine to protect. Mine to care for. His lips brushed her temple. Mine to love, if you'll let me. This is moving so fast. I don't have time for slow. Min-jae tilted her face up. My world doesn't allow for slow. People in my life die suddenly, Zara. They disappear. They get taken. So when I find something good, something pure and real, I hold on tight. I don't waste time. He kissed her then, deep and claiming. Zara kissed back with equal hunger, climbing into his lap, straddling him. His hands gripped her hips, pulling her flush against him, and she felt how much he wanted her. Zara, he groaned against her mouth. We should stop. Why? Because I won't be gentle. Because once I have you, I'll never let you go. Because... She kissed him again. Harder. Then don't let go. Min-jae's control snapped. He stood, lifting her with him, her legs wrapped around his waist. He carried her to the bedroom, kicking the door shut behind them. They fell onto the bed together, hands frantically removing clothes, desperate to feel skin against skin. When Min-jae finally entered her, Zara cried out. He filled her completely, the stretch both painful and perfect. He stilled, giving her time to adjust, his face buried in her neck. Okay? He whispered. More than okay. Move, please. He did. Slowly at first, then faster as Zara urged him on. They moved together like they'd done this 1,000 times, their bodies finding a rhythm that was both new and ancient. Min-jae whispered in Korean against her skin, words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. When she came apart, it was with his name on her lips. He followed seconds later, groaning her name like a prayer. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweat cooling on their skin. Min-jae's hand traced lazy patterns on her back. I love you, he said quietly. I know it's too soon. I know it's crazy. But I love you, Zara. Zara's heart clenched. She should be careful, should protect herself, should remember that he was dangerous and their worlds were impossible. But she'd spent 3 weeks being careful, being numb, being safe, and safety had given her nothing but emptiness. I love you too, she whispered. God help me. I love you too. Min-jae kissed her forehead. Then we'll face hell together. Neither of them knew how prophetic those words would be. The threat came 3 days later. Zara was feeding Ji-hoon when Min-jae's phone rang. She watched his expression change from relaxed to stone cold in seconds. When? He said in Korean. Then how many? A pause. Secure the building. Get Taeyang and the others here now. Full security protocol. He hung up and turned to Zara. His face was calm, but she saw the fear in his eyes. What's wrong? The Kozlov brothers know about you. Min-jae's voice was steady, but his hands clenched into fists. They've been watching the building, taking photos. They sent them to me an hour ago with a message. What message? Min-jae pulled out his phone and showed her. The photo was of Zara entering the building yesterday, Ji-hoon in her arms. The message below was in Russian, but Min-jae translated. Pretty little nurse playing mommy. Would be a shame if something happened to her and the baby. Give us Midtown territory and Buford highway operations, or we'll show you what we do to whores who fuck Korean dogs. Rage flooded through Zara, hot and violent. They called me a whore? They called you something I'll kill them for saying. Min-jae took the phone back. Zara, I need you to listen carefully. My men are securing the building right now. You and Ji-hoon are going to a safe house. No, this isn't negotiable. I said no. Zara stood, still holding Ji-hoon. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. If they want to threaten me, they can do it to my face. Zara, these men are monsters. They'll torture you to hurt me. And you'll protect me. She moved closer to him. You said I'm yours to protect. So protect me, but don't send me away. Don't make me live in fear. I've spent 3 weeks feeling dead inside. I won't go back to that. Min-jae looked at her like she was insane. Then he laughed a sharp, almost manic sound. You're going to get yourself killed. Then you better make sure I don't. He grabbed her face and kissed her hard. You're the most infuriating, brave, reckless woman I've ever met. Is that why you love me? It's one of many reasons. Min-jae's phone rang again. He answered, listened, then hung up. My men are here. We're going into lockdown. No one in or out without my approval. Over the next hour, the apartment transformed into a fortress. 8 armed guards positioned throughout the building, security cameras on every entrance, bulletproof shutters that could drop over the windows at the press of a button. Tae-yang, Min-jae's second-in-command, gave Zara a crash course in basic security, where the panic buttons were, how to use the safe room if someone breached the apartment, what to do if Min-jae was incapacitated. You're teaching me like I'm going to war, Zara said. You are at war, Tae-yang replied. His English was better than his expression suggested. The moment you became important to the boss, you became a target. The Kozlovs won't stop until they either get what they want or they're dead. So we kill them first. Tae-yang's eyebrows rose. You have the spirit of a fighter. I have the spirit of a woman who's tired of being afraid. That night, Min-jae held a meeting in the apartment. His top men gathered around the dining table while Zara fed Ji-hoon in the nursery, but she could hear everything through the baby monitor. We end this now, Min-jae said in English, probably for Zara's benefit. I want every Kozlov operation in Atlanta shut down. I want their suppliers cut off. I want their money frozen. And I want Viktor and Alexei Kozlov brought to me alive. Boss, that's going to start a war, someone said. They started the war when they killed my brother. They escalated when they threatened Zara and Ji-hoon. Min-jae's voice was ice. Now I'm ending it. What about the FBI investigation? Tae-yang asked. If we move against the Kozlovs this aggressively, let them investigate. I'm done playing nice. I'm done pretending to be civilized. Min-jae's fist hit the table. They threatened my family. For that, I'll burn Atlanta to the ground if I have to. The meeting continued, but Zara stopped listening. She looked down at Ji-hoon, who'd fallen asleep at her breast, milk, drunk, and peaceful. This innocent baby had no idea his uncle was planning a war to protect him. Later, after the men had left, and the apartment was quiet except for guards stationed outside, Min-jae found Zara in the nursery. She was rocking Ji-hoon, humming softly. You heard, he said. I heard. And I'm terrified. Zara looked up at him. But I'm not leaving. I'm not abandoning Ji-hoon, and I'm not abandoning you. Min-jae knelt beside the rocking chair. I don't deserve you. Probably not. Zara smiled sadly. But you're stuck with me anyway. Forever? Forever. He kissed her while she held his nephew, and for a moment, they were just a family, just a man and a woman and a baby, finding peace in a world of violence. But outside, in the Atlanta darkness, the Kozlov brothers were planning their revenge, and Min-jae was preparing for war. The attack came on a Tuesday morning, exactly when Min-jae said it wouldn't. They'll expect us to be most vulnerable at night. He'd told Zara the evening before, reviewing security protocols for the 3rd time. So they'll hit during the day, broad daylight, when we're supposed to feel safe. He'd been right. Zara was in the kitchen making breakfast. Actual breakfast, not just coffee and toast. Eggs, bacon, the pancakes Min-jae loved but pretended he didn't. Ji-hoon was in his bouncer on the counter, gurgling happily at nothing. The morning sun streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. It felt normal, almost peaceful. Then the windows exploded. Glass erupted inward in a shower of diamonds. Zara screamed, diving to cover Ji-hoon's bouncer with her body. The baby shrieked in terror, and Zara's ears rang from the blast. Gunfire. Automatic weapons tearing through the apartment. Zara heard shouting in Russian and Korean. The guards were returning fire, but there were so many shots, too many. Zara, Min-jae's voice, somewhere in the apartment. Zara, the safe room, now. She grabbed Ji-hoon, glass cutting her hands and arms, and ran. The safe room was hidden behind a panel in the master bedroom closet. Biometric lock her fingerprint. She slammed her bloody hand against the scanner and nothing happened. No, no, no. Her voice broke. Ji-hoon was screaming. Gunfire was getting closer. Please, please. The scanner beeped green. The door opened. Zara stumbled inside, the heavy steel door sealing behind her with a pneumatic hiss. Silence. Sudden and complete. The safe room was soundproofed, lined with Kevlar and steel. A prison, a tomb, a sanctuary. Zara collapsed against the wall, clutching Ji-hoon to her chest. The baby was hysterical, his face purple with rage and fear. She tried to nurse him, but her hands were shaking too badly. Blood from her cuts smeared across his blanket. "It's okay, baby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's okay. Uncle Min-jae will keep us safe. It's okay." But she didn't know if it was okay. Didn't know if Min-jae was alive or dead. Didn't know if the men shooting were coming for her and Ji-hoon. She found the emergency phone mounted on the wall, direct line to Min-jae's cell. She dialed with bloody, trembling fingers. He answered on the first ring. "Zara, are you hurt?" "Glass cuts. Nothing serious. Ji-hoon's okay." "What's happening?" "Kozlov sent a hit squad. 8 men. We've taken down 5. Stay in the safe room until I come get you. Min-jae, I love you. I'll come for you. I promise." He hung up. The wait was endless. Zara had no sense of time in the sealed room. She finally got Ji-hoon to nurse, and he quieted. Exhausted from crying, she examined her own injuries, cuts on her hands and forearms. Nothing deep, nothing that wouldn't heal, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. After what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, there was a knock on the safe room door. 3 short, 2 long, 1 short. Min-jae's code. Zara opened the door. Min-jae stood there, covered in blood. His white shirt was soaked red. His face was splattered. His hands were crimson. But his eyes were clear and focused on her. "Are you hurt?" she gasped. "Not my blood." He stepped inside and locked the door behind him. Then he pulled her and Ji-hoon into his arms, careful despite the blood. "Not my blood," he repeated. "Are you okay? Let me see your hands." "I'm fine. Just cuts from the glass." Zara was shaking. "What happened?" "They're dead. All 8 of them." Min-jae's voice was flat, empty. "My men are cleaning up. Police will be here soon, I called them. Told them it was a home invasion. Self-defense. Will they believe that? They will when I show them 8 dead Russians with automatic weapons." Min-jae cupped her face, his bloody hands leaving marks on her cheeks. "I told you I'd protect you. I told you I'd kill for you. I know. Does it scare you, seeing me like this?" Zara looked at the blood covering him, looked at his empty eyes, looked at the man who'd just killed 8 people to keep her and Ji-hoon safe. "No," she said honestly. "It should, but it doesn't." Something flickered in Min-jae's expression. Relief, gratitude, love so intense it hurt to look at. "I need to shower before the police arrive. Change clothes. You should too." He looked at Ji-hoon, who'd fallen asleep against Zara's chest, exhausted. "Can you keep him calm while I clean up?" "Yes." Min-jae kissed her forehead, leaving a bloody mark. 5 minutes. Then we face this together. The police were surprisingly easy to deal with. Detective Barnes, a weary-looking black man in his 50s, walked through the destroyed apartment with Min-jae. Zara sat on the one intact sofa, holding Ji-hoon, while a paramedic bandaged her hands. 8 dead Russians, Barnes said, his tone neutral. All with extensive criminal records, all carrying illegal weapons. And they just happened to break into your apartment. "My brother was murdered by the Kozlov organization," Min-jae said calmly. He'd showered, changed into clean clothes, and looked every inch the respectable doctor and businessman. "I've been receiving threats for months. I have security precisely because I expected retaliation." "Retaliation for what?" "For existing." Min-jae's voice was cold. "For refusing to pay protection money. For not cooperating with their operations. For being Korean in territory they consider Russian." It was close enough to the truth that Barnes couldn't dispute it. The detective looked at Zara. "Miss Williams, can you confirm this version of events?" "I was making breakfast," Zara said quietly. "The windows exploded. I heard gunfire. I grabbed the baby and ran to the safe room like Min-jae taught me. That's all I know." "You're the nanny?" "I'm his girlfriend," Min-jae said before Zara could answer. "And Ji-hoon's caretaker. She lives here." Barnes's eyebrows rose. "That's a quick relationship. Your brother's been dead, what? 3 weeks? 4 weeks tomorrow." Min-jae's jaw tightened. "And yes, it's fast. But when 8 men try to kill the woman you love, you stop pretending it's casual. The detective studied them both, then sighed. Look, Mr. Kang. I know who you are. I know what your family does. And I know this, he gestured at the destroyed apartment. This is about more than protection money. Then you know I acted in self-defense. That my security team acted in defense of my family. Min-jae's voice was steady. Unless you plan to arrest me for surviving? Barnes looked like he wanted to. But the evidence was clear. 8 armed intruders, dozens of shell casings from their weapons, a baby in the apartment, self-defense. Get better security, Barnes finally said. And Mr. Kang? Whatever war you're planning, keep it away from civilians. Next time there might be collateral damage. There won't be a next time, Min-jae promised. I'm ending this. After the police left, after the bodies were removed and the crime scene techs finished, Min-jae's men boarded up the windows and began repairs. Zara and Min-jae packed essentials for themselves and Ji-hoon. Where are we going? Zara asked. My other property, downtown, the penthouse in the Sovereign building. Min-jae threw clothes into a bag without looking. Better security, harder to breach. And I'm done hiding, Zara. I'm done waiting for them to come to us. What are you going to do? Min-jae stopped packing and looked at her. His dark eyes were hard, cold. The gentle man who played with Ji-hoon and made love to her tenderly was gone, replaced by the crime boss who'd built an empire on fear. I'm going to war, he said flatly. Real war. Total war. The Kozlovs tried to kill you and Ji-hoon. For that, I'm going to destroy everything they've built. Their operations, their money, their allies, and then I'm going to kill Victor and Alexei personally. That's murder. That's justice. Min-jae zipped the bag closed. They killed my brother. They tried to kill my family. The law won't touch them. Victor has half the city on his payroll, so I'll be the law. Zara should have argued. Should have begged him to find another way. But she thought about those 8 men shooting at the apartment where Ji-hoon slept. Thought about what would have happened if she'd been a second slower getting to the safe room. How long will it take? She asked quietly. Min-jae's expression softened slightly. A week. Maybe 2. I have to move carefully, methodically. Cut off their resources before I strike at the head. And what do I do while you're waging war? You stay safe. You take care of Ji-hoon. You let me protect you. Min-jae pulled her close. And you wait for me to come home. The penthouse was a fortress disguised as luxury. 50th floor of the Sovereign building, the entire top level. 3,000 square feet of marble and glass and brushed steel. Floor-to-ceiling windows with bulletproof glass. Panic rooms on every floor. Security so tight that Zara needed 3 separate clearances just to use the elevator. This is where you actually live, Zara said, looking around. The Midtown apartment had been nice. This was opulent. This is where I work, Min-jae corrected. The Midtown place was supposed to be softer, more appropriate for a baby. He set down their bags. But after today, soft doesn't matter. Safety does. Ji-hoon was fussy, overstimulated from the chaos. Zara took him to the nursery. Min-jae's people had apparently set up in record time. Everything was new, expensive, perfect. Like the Midtown nursery, but triple the size. She fed Ji-hoon and rocked him to sleep, humming softly. Through the window, Atlanta sprawled below like a glittering map. Somewhere down there, the Kozlov brothers were planning their next move, and Min-jae was planning theirs. When she emerged from the nursery, she found Min-jae in his office. The room was all dark wood and leather, monitors on the walls showing security feeds from various locations. Tae-young and 3 other men were there, speaking rapid Korean. Min-jae saw her and switched to English. Zara, come in. She stepped into the office, suddenly aware of how out of place she looked. These men were discussing crime and violence, and she was just a girl from Kingston, Jamaica, who'd gotten pregnant and lost everything. Gentlemen, this is Zara Williams, Min-jae said. Ji-hoon's caretaker. My girlfriend. And as of today, family. He looked at each man in turn. She's under my protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. Clear? A chorus of yes, boss, in various accents. Good. Now leave us. The men filed out. Tae-yang paused at the door. Boss, the Buford Highway warehouse. Burn it, Min-jae said. Tonight. Make sure everyone knows it was us. Tae-yang nodded and left. Min-jae turned to Zara. You should probably go to bed. It's been a long day. I'm not tired. Zara, I want to understand. She moved closer. You're about to start a war because of me and Ji-hoon. I deserve to know what that means. Min-jae studied her face, then sighed. Sit. She sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Min-jae poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed her one. The Kozlov organization runs drugs, prostitution, and protection rackets in Atlanta, he began. They came to the city 15 years ago. My father tolerated them because their operations didn't overlap with ours much. But 5 years ago, they started pushing into our territory, challenging us. And your father? My father was old school. He believed in negotiation, in sharing territory. Day one was the same. Min-jae's expression darkened. They were both too soft, too willing to compromise. And the Kozlovs saw that as weakness. So, they killed Day one. They killed Day one and me son to send a message, to tell me that the old ways were dead, that if I wanted to keep our organization, I'd have to submit to them. Min-jae took a long drink. I've been fighting them quietly for 4 weeks, disrupting their operations, stealing their clients, nothing they could openly retaliate for. Until you met me. Until I met you. Min-jae agreed. And suddenly I had something they could target. You and Ji-hoon became my weakness. I'm sorry. Don't be. Min-jae came around the desk and knelt in front of her chair. Zara, you're not my weakness. You're my strength. You give me a reason to win this war. Because now, I'm not just fighting for territory or money or pride. I'm fighting for my family. Zara touched his face. What happens if you lose? I won't lose. But if you do, if I do, you take Ji-hoon and run. I have accounts set up in your name, passports, everything you need to disappear. Min-jae's voice was urgent. Taeyang knows. If something happens to me, he'll get you out of the country. You'll be safe. I don't want to run without you. You'll do it for Ji-hoon. Zara's throat tightened. Because he was right. She would run, would disappear, would do anything to keep the baby safe. Come back to me, she whispered. Promise you'll come back. I promise. Min-jae kissed her deeply. I promise. They made love that night with desperate intensity. Min-jae was rougher than usual, claiming her with an edge of possession that should have frightened Zara but instead made her feel cherished, protected, his. Afterward, he held her close, his face buried in her hair. I love you, he murmured in Korean, then English. I love you more than I thought possible. More than is safe. More than is smart. I love you too, Zara whispered back. Come back to me, Min-jae. Whatever you have to do, whoever you have to become, just come back. Always, he promised. Always. The war started the next night. Min-jae left at 8 p.m. with 12 armed men. Zara watched from the penthouse windows as his convoy of black SUVs disappeared into Atlanta's neon-lit streets. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Tried to read but the words blurred. Tried to watch TV but every channel felt wrong. Finally, she just sat in the nursery, watching Ji-hoon sleep, and waited. The first call came at 11:43 p.m. Taeyang's voice was tense. Miss Williams, the boss wanted me to update you. The Buford Highway warehouse is gone. No casualties on our side. Kozlov's lost significant product and cash. Is Min-jae okay? He's fine. Moving to the next target. The second call came at 1:17 a.m. Ponce de Leon distribution center is ours. Kozlov dealers are scattered. Boss is fine. The third call came at 3:52 a.m. Midtown Club secured. Kozlov enforcers neutralized. Boss took a graze to the shoulder, but he's okay. Refusing medical attention until the operation is complete. By 6 a.m., Min-jae had destroyed 6 Kozlov operations in one night. When he finally came home at dawn, he was covered in blood again, some his, most not. Zara met him at the door. Without a word, she led him to the bathroom and undressed him. The graze on his shoulder was ugly but not deep. She cleaned it carefully, bandaged it, then helped him into the shower. They stood under the hot spray together, washing away blood and cordite and the smell of violence. Zara traced the new bruises on his ribs, the split knuckles, the exhaustion in his eyes. Is it over? She asked. No. This was just the opening move. Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. But they know now. They know I'm coming for them. How many did you kill? Personally? 4. His voice was flat. My men killed 19 more. We crippled their operations, Zara. But Victor and Alexei are still alive. And they're going to retaliate. Let them come. Min-jae pulled back to look at her. You're not scared? I'm terrified, Zara admitted. But I'm more terrified of losing you. Of losing Ji-hoon. So if war is what it takes to keep us safe, she met his eyes, then war is what we do. Min-jae kissed her hard. You're the strongest woman I've ever met. I'm just a woman who loves you. Just, he echoed, smiling against her lips. There's nothing just about you, Zara Williams. They made love in the shower, gentle despite the violence still clinging to them. Then they climbed into bed together, exhausted and aching and alive. Ji-hoon woke them 2 hours later, hungry and demanding. Zara fed him while Min-jae slept, one arm thrown across her lap even in unconsciousness, protecting her even in dreams. This was her life now. Nursing a baby while his uncle slept off a night of violence, living in a fortress, waiting for the next attack, loving a man who killed people to keep her safe. She should hate it, should run, should protect herself and Ji-hoon from this world of blood and bullets. But as she looked at Min-jae's sleeping face so peaceful, so young without the weight of command, she knew she'd never leave, knew she'd fight beside him, knew she'd become whatever she needed to become to survive in his world. Because he was hers. Ji-hoon was hers, and she protected what was hers just as fiercely as Min-jae did. The retaliation came 3 days later. Not at the penthouse, not at Min-jae. The Kozlovs were smarter than that. They went after Zara's mother. Zara's phone rang at 2 p.m., unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Zara Williams? A man's voice, accented, Russian. Who is this? My name is Viktor Kozlov. I believe you know who I am. Zara's blood turned to ice. What do you want? I want to have a conversation about your mother, Grace Williams, currently living in Kingston, Jamaica, works at the Marcus Garvey nursing home, lives in a small house on Wellington Street. Zara couldn't breathe. If you touch her, I haven't touched her, yet. Victor's voice was pleasant, conversational. But I could, very easily. Your mother is, 62? Lives alone. No security, no protection. It would be so simple to pay her a visit. What do you want? I want you to deliver a message to your boyfriend. Tell Kang Min-jae that he has 24 hours to return what he took from me, my warehouses, my operations, my money, everything. Or your mother dies. Slowly, painfully, and you'll watch. I'll make sure you watch. The line went dead. Zara stood frozen, phone in hand, while terror crashed through her like a tidal wave. Her mother. They were threatening her mother. Zara? Min-jae's voice from the office. Who was on the phone? She couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Min-jae appeared in the doorway. One look at her face and he was across the room, gripping her arms. What happened? Who called? Viktor Kozlov. Her voice cracked. He threatened my mother. Said he'll kill her if you don't return everything you took from him. 24 hours. Min-jae's expression went dark. Deadly. He's bluffing. What if he's not? Min-jae, my mother is all I have left. If something happens to her because of me, nothing will happen to her. Min-jae pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Korean, then English. I need a team in Kingston. Now. Grace Williams, Wellington Street. Pick her up. Bring her here. I don't care what it costs. He hung up and looked at Zara. I'm bringing your mother here. She'll be in Atlanta by tonight. Safe, protected. But Victor said. Victor is a dead man. Min-jae's voice was cold, final. He threatened you, threatened your family. He just signed his own death warrant. 24 hours. I don't need 24 hours. Min-jae kissed her forehead. I need 4. Maybe 5. By the time your mother lands in Atlanta, Viktor Kozlov will be dead. Min-jae, don't. It's a trap. He wants you to come after him. Of course it's a trap. Min-jae smiled. And it was terrifying. But he doesn't understand something crucial, Zara. He thinks I care about my life more than I care about you. He's wrong. I'd walk into 1,000 traps if it meant keeping you safe. Please don't go, please. Let's just run. Take Ji-hoon and my mother and disappear. And live in fear forever? Always looking over our shoulders? Min-jae cupped her face. No. I end this tonight. I end Victor and Alexei and everyone who dared to threaten my family. And then we're free. Or you're dead. I won't die, Zara. I can't. His eyes blazed. Because I promised you forever. And I keep my promises. He kissed her deeply, desperately. Then he was gone, gathering his men, preparing for what would either be his greatest victory or his final battle. Zara stood alone in the penthouse, holding Ji-hoon, watching the sun set over Atlanta. Somewhere out there, Min-jae was walking into danger for her. risking everything for her mother's life. And all she could do was wait, and pray, and hope that love was stronger than bullets. The waiting was torture. Zara paced the penthouse with Jihoon in her arms, the baby the only thing keeping her from falling apart completely. Every minute felt like an hour. Every sound made her jump. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart seized. Taeyang had stayed behind with 4 guards. He stood by the windows, stoic and silent, watching the city lights flicker below. "How long has it been?" Zara asked for the 10th time. 2 hours and 17 minutes. Taeyang didn't look at her. The boss said to expect radio silence for at least 4 hours. "Where did he go?" "I can't tell you that, Miss Williams. For your safety." Zara wanted to scream. Wanted to throw something. Wanted to rewind time to 3 weeks ago when she was just a grieving waitress whose biggest problem was paying rent. But she'd made her choice. Had chosen Min Jae, chosen Jihoon, chosen this dangerous, impossible life. And now all she could do was wait and trust that the man she loved would come home alive. Her phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Unknown number. Zara's hands shook as she answered. "Hello? Zara, baby, what on earth is happening?" Her mother's voice, thick with her Jamaican accent. "These men just showed up at my house. Said you sent them. That I needed to come to America immediately." "Mama." Relief flooded through Zara. "Mama, are you safe? Are you with them?" "I'm on a private plane, Zara. A plane. They wouldn't explain anything, just said you were in trouble and I needed to come." Her mother's voice tightened with worry. "Baby girl, what have you gotten yourself into?" "It's complicated, Mama. But I'm okay. I need you here. Need you safe." "Safe from what?" Zara looked at Taeyang, who gave her a slight nod. "Mama, I met someone. A man. He has a nephew who needed help, and I've been taking care of the baby. But the man, his family has enemies. Dangerous enemies. And those enemies threatened you to get to him." Silence. Then, "Zara Marie Williams, are you telling me you're involved with a gangster?" "It's not like that." "It sounds exactly like that." Her mother's voice rose. "After everything with Aaliyah, after all that pain, you go and get mixed up with criminals?" "Mama, please. I love him. And his nephew. Jihoon is 3 weeks old, and I've been nursing him since his parents died. He needs me." "You're breastfeeding another woman's baby?" "His mother died in childbirth. He wouldn't take a bottle. I still had milk from," Zara's voice broke, "from Aaliyah. And Mama, when I feed Jihoon, it doesn't hurt as much. Like maybe losing Aaliyah wasn't completely meaningless if I could save this baby." Her mother was crying now. Zara could hear it in her breathing. "Oh, baby, my sweet baby. You're trying to fill a hole that can't be filled. I know. But Min Jae, he makes me feel alive again, Mama. He makes me feel like maybe I deserve to be happy despite everything. This man who has you running from gangsters makes you happy? He protects me. He loves me. He'd die for me." Zara wiped her eyes. "And right now he might be dying for me. He went after the people who threatened you. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph." Her mother's voice was small. "Zara, what have you done?" "I fell in love, Mama. I know it's crazy and dangerous and probably stupid, but I fell in love." Another long silence. Then her mother sighed. "Your grandmother used to say that love is like lightning, it strikes where it wants, and all you can do is pray you survive the burn." A pause. "I'll be landing in 3 hours. And we're going to have a long talk about this man and whether he deserves my daughter." "Yes, Mama. But Zara? If he hurts you, I don't care how powerful he is. I'll kill him myself." Zara laughed through her tears. "I believe you." After they hung up, Zara felt marginally better. Her mother was safe, in the air, surrounded by Min Jae's men, flying toward Atlanta and safety. Now she just needed Min Jae to come home. Across the city, in a warehouse in southwest Atlanta, Min Jae stood in a room that smelled of blood and fear. Viktor Kozlov was tied to a chair in the center of the space. His brother Alexei was already dead. Min Jae's men had found him at a strip club on Memorial Drive and ended him quickly. Too quickly, Min Jae thought. The man who'd helped kill Day One deserved to suffer more. But Victor was still alive. For now, Min Jae circled the chair slowly, his footsteps echoing in the empty warehouse. He'd left most of his men outside. This part was personal. This part he needed to do alone. "You made a mistake," Min Jae said quietly in English. "You threatened Zara's mother." Victor laughed, blood bubbling from his split lip. "I threatened everyone you love. You Korean bastard. That's the game. You hit me. I hit you harder. You hit my brother. You killed him and his pregnant wife. Business. Victor spat blood. Nothing personal. Your brother was weak. His territory was ripe for taking. Min-jae backhanded him. Victor's head snapped sideways, and more blood sprayed across the concrete floor. My brother was a good man, Min-jae said, his voice deadly calm. He wanted to go legitimate. Wanted to build something his son could be proud of. You took that away from him. Took away Ji-hoon's parents before the baby even took his first breath. So what? You're going to kill me? Go ahead. Victor grinned, his teeth red. But it won't bring them back. Won't make you less of a monster. You think that pretty little black girl loves you? She loves your money. Your protection. Once she sees what you really are. Min-jae pulled out his knife. You don't get to talk about her. She'll run. They always run when they see the blood. When they see what you're capable of. Victor was still grinning. You're just like me, Kang. Just another killer. And killers die alone. Maybe, Min-jae said. But you'll die first. He worked methodically. Not fast. Not merciful. He wanted Victor to understand the depth of his mistake. Wanted him to feel every ounce of pain that Daewon and Mi-sun had felt in their final moments. When it was finally over, Min-jae stood over Victor's body and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness and the weight of one more death on his conscience. His phone buzzed. Tae Yang. Boss, Miss Williams's mother has landed. We're bringing her to the penthouse now. Good. I'm on my way back. And Victor? Dead. Send a cleaning crew. I want this place scrubbed. Min-jae walked out of the warehouse into the cool Atlanta night. His hands were covered in blood again. His soul was heavier. But Zara was safe. Her mother was safe. Ji-hoon was safe. And Victor Kozlov would never threaten anyone again. Zara's mother arrived at the penthouse at 11:34 p.m. Grace Williams was a small woman with steel in her spine and eyes that missed nothing. She walked into the opulent space, looked around at the marble and glass and luxury, then fixed her gaze on Zara. This is how gangsters live, she said flatly. Mama, where's the baby? Zara led her to the nursery. Ji-hoon was asleep, his tiny chest rising and falling peacefully. Grace stood over the crib, looking down at him, and her expression softened. He's beautiful, she whispered. Looks like a little doll. He's perfect, Mama. Smart and strong and... Zara's voice broke. He looks at me like Aaliyah used to. Like I'm his whole world. Grace turned to her daughter and pulled her into a fierce hug. Oh, baby. My sweet baby. You're trying to heal yourself by saving this child. Is that wrong? It's human. Grace pulled back, cupping Zara's face. But you can't replace Aaliyah, love. No matter how much you love this baby, he's not yours. And when his uncle finds a proper mother for him, I am his proper mother. The words came out sharper than Zara intended. I feed him from my body, Mama. I comfort him when he cries. I know his sounds, his needs. I love him. I know you do. But legally doesn't matter in Min-jae's world. The penthouse door opened. Min-jae walked in, and Zara's heart seized. He was covered in blood again, his clothes soaked, his hands crimson. But he was alive, whole, walking. Min-jae! She ran to him, not caring about the blood. He caught her, holding her tight. I'm okay, he murmured against her hair. It's done. Victor's dead. The threat is over. You're bleeding. Not my blood. He pulled back, seeing Grace for the first time. His entire demeanor changed, shifting from killer to respectful. Mrs. Williams, I'm Kang Min-jae. I apologize for the circumstances of our meeting. Grace looked him up and down, taking in the blood, the expensive suit underneath. The way he held her daughter. You're the gangster. Yes, ma'am. And you love my daughter? More than my own life. Words are cheap, Mr. Kang. Grace's voice was hard. You put Zara in danger. Put me in danger. What makes you think you deserve her? Min-jae didn't flinch. Nothing, ma'am. I don't deserve her, but I love her anyway. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that love. By killing people? By protecting the people I love. By any means necessary. Min-jae's voice was steady. I won't apologize for what I am, Mrs. Williams. But I will promise you that Zara and Ji-hoon will never want for anything. They'll be safe, cared for, loved. That's my vow. Grace studied him for a long moment. Then she looked at Zara. You really love this man? Yes, Mama. Even knowing what he is? Especially knowing what he is. Zara took Min-jae's bloody hand in hers. He's a good man in a bad world, Mama. And he's mine. Grace sighed. Your grandmother warned me you had your father's stubborn streak. She turned back to Min-jae. I'll stay for a week, get to know you, see how you treat my daughter. And if I don't like what I see, Mr. Kang, I'll take Zara back to Jamaica myself. Fair enough. Min-jae bowed slightly. Thank you for giving me the chance. After Grace went to the guest room, exhausted from travel, Min-jae showered and changed. Zara sat on the bathroom counter, watching him through the glass shower door. My mother is terrifying, she said. She raised you. Of course she's terrifying. Min-jae smiled. But she loves you. I respect that. You really killed Victor? Yes. Do you feel anything? Regret? Guilt? Min-jae turned off the water and stepped out, wrapping a towel around his waist. I feel relief. And I feel tired. But no, I don't feel guilty. He threatened you, Zara. He had to die. That's a cold way to think. It's the only way to survive in my world. Min-jae cupped her face. But with you, I'm not cold. With you and Ji-hoon, I remember what it feels like to be human, to love something more than power or money or revenge. Zara kissed him. I was so scared you wouldn't come back. I promised you forever. I keep my promises. They made love that night with desperate intensity, celebrating survival, celebrating life. Afterward, Min-jae held her close and whispered secrets in Korean words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. What are you saying? She asked sleepily. I'm saying you're my salvation, my redemption, my everything. Min-jae kissed her forehead. I'm saying I don't deserve you, but I'm keeping you anyway. Good, Zara murmured. Because I'm not going anywhere. The next morning, everything changed. Min-jae's lawyer arrived at 10 a.m. with documents. Zara was feeding Ji-hoon in the living room, while Grace made Jamaican breakfast in the kitchen ackee and saltfish that made the entire penthouse smell like home. Mr. Kang, we need to discuss the baby's legal status, the lawyer said. He was a thin Korean man in his 60s named Mr. Park. With the Kozlovs eliminated, there are no immediate threats. But long-term, we need to establish guardianship. I'm his guardian, Min-jae said. His uncle. Legal next of kin. Yes, but there's a complication. Mr. Park pulled out a folder. I've been reviewing the birth records and DNA tests from when Ji-hoon was born. And there's a discrepancy. Zara looked up from nursing. What kind of discrepancy? Mr. Park looked uncomfortable. The DNA test shows that Mr. Kang Dae-won was not Ji-hoon's biological father. The room went silent. Min-jae's expression didn't change, but Zara saw his hands clench. What are you saying? I'm saying that while Dae-won's wife Mi-sun was definitely Ji-hoon's mother, Dae-won was not the father. The DNA shows Ji-hoon has no genetic relation to the Kang family line. That's impossible, Zara said. Mi-sun wouldn't. She was having an affair, Min-jae said flatly. I suspected. Never said anything, because Dae-won was happy. But I knew. Mr. Park nodded. The hospital ran standard paternity tests. They're required for birth certificates. But Dae-won died before the results came back. The hospital sent them to me, as the family lawyer. So Ji-hoon isn't. Zara couldn't finish the sentence. Isn't my nephew. Not biologically. Min-jae looked at the baby sleeping in Zara's arms. But does it matter? I've been raising him, loving him. He's mine in every way that counts. Legally it matters, Mr. Park said gently. If Ji-hoon has a biological father out there, that man could claim custody. Could challenge your guardianship. Do we know who the father is? Zara asked. No. The DNA test only shows he's not a Kang. Without a sample from the biological father, we can't identify him. Min-jae stood and walked to the windows, his back rigid. Zara could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands were fisted at his sides. Min-jae, she said softly. I don't care. His voice was hard. I don't care if Dae-won wasn't his biological father. Ji-hoon is mine. I've fed him, changed him, protected him. I've killed for him. Biology doesn't change that. I agree, Mr. Park said. But we need to establish legal guardianship properly. I recommend you formally adopt Ji-hoon. Make it official that you're his father in the eyes of the law. Do it. Min-jae didn't turn around. Whatever paperwork is needed, file it today. And Miss Williams? Mr. Park looked at Zara. Given her role in caring for Ji-hoon, we should consider her legal status as well. What do you mean? Zara asked. I mean that if Mr. Kang adopts Ji-hoon, and you two get married, you would become Ji-hoon's legal mother. It would strengthen the adoption, show family stability. Zara's heart stopped. Married? Min-jae finally turned around. He crossed to where Zara sat, knelt in front of her, and took her free hand. I was going to do this differently, he said quietly. Take you to dinner, get a ring, make it romantic. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. But Mr. Park is right. If we're married, no one can challenge our custody of Ji-hoon. You'd be his mother legally as well as in practice. Min-jae, you don't have to marry me just for legal protection. I'm not marrying you for legal protection. His dark eyes burned into hers. I'm marrying you because I love you. Because I can't imagine my life without you. Because every time I look at you holding Ji-hoon, I see the family I thought I'd lost forever. Tears streamed down Zara's face. We've only known each other 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, you've become my entire world. Min-jae's voice cracked. Marry me, Zara. Not for Ji-hoon, not for legal reasons. Marry me because you love me, because we're better together than apart. Because forever started the night you fed my nephew in a diner at 2 a.m. Grace appeared in the doorway, having heard everything. She looked at her daughter, at the baby in her arms, at the dangerous man kneeling at her feet. Zara, Grace said softly. What does your heart tell you? Zara looked at Min-jae. At the man who'd killed for her, protected her, loved her with an intensity that should terrify her but instead made her feel safe. She looked at Ji-hoon, sleeping peacefully against her chest, the baby she loved like her own. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Min-jae's smile was blinding. He kissed her deeply, carefully avoiding Ji-hoon between them. When they broke apart, both crying and laughing, Grace clapped slowly. Well, she said, I suppose I'm planning a wedding. The wedding happened 1 week later. Not a big affair. Min-jae's world was too dangerous for public spectacles. But Grace insisted on doing it properly. She found a small Korean-Jamaican fusion restaurant in Midtown that was willing to close for a private event. She ordered flowers, white roses, and bird of paradise. She found Zara a dress simple white silk that made her look like an angel, and she grudgingly admitted that Min-jae Kang, despite being a gangster, clearly loved her daughter. The ceremony was intimate. Just 15 people. Grace, Tae-young, Mr. Park, a few of Min-jae's most trusted men, and the pastor from the Korean church Min-jae's mother had attended before she died. Ji-hoon was there too, dressed in a tiny tuxedo, held by Grace during the ceremony. Min-jae wore a traditional Korean hanbok in black and gold. Zara wore her white dress with Jamaican colors in her bouquet, black, gold, and green flowers woven together. When the pastor asked if anyone objected, Tae-young actually looked around like he expected someone to crash through the windows. I object, Grace said suddenly. Everyone froze. Min-jae's hand tightened on Zara's. Mama, Zara started. I object, Grace continued, to the fact that this man didn't ask my permission before proposing to my daughter. She stood, still holding Ji-hoon. So I'm asking now, Mr. Kang, do you promise to love my daughter? To protect her? To give her the life she deserves? Yes, ma'am, Min-jae said firmly. Do you promise to be a good father to this baby? To raise him with love and honor? Yes, ma'am. And do you promise that if you ever hurt my daughter, you'll turn yourself in to me for punishment? Min-jae actually smiled. Yes, ma'am. Grace sat back down. Then I have no objections. Proceed. The ceremony continued. They exchanged vows, Min-jae's in English and Korean, Zara's in English with a few Jamaican patois phrases her grandmother had taught her. They exchanged rings, simple gold bands that Min-jae had inscribed with their initials and the date they met. When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, Min-jae kissed Zara like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. The reception was joyful chaos. Grace had cooked enough food to feed 40 people despite there being 15. Korean bulgogi sat next to Jamaican jerk chicken. Kimchi shared a table with rice and peas. 2 cultures, 2 worlds, coming together. Tae-young got drunk and gave a speech in Korean that made Min-jae blush and the other men roar with laughter. Grace gave a speech in English and patois that made everyone cry, talking about how her daughter had lost everything and found a family again. And through it all, Ji-hoon was passed from person to person, the baby who'd brought them all together, smiling and gurgling and completely unaware that he'd just gained 2 legal parents who would die for him. When they finally returned to the penthouse late that night, exhausted and happy, Min-jae carried Zara over the threshold. Grace took Ji-hoon to put him to bed, giving them privacy. In their bedroom, Min-jae undressed Zara slowly, reverently. My wife, he whispered against her skin. My beautiful, brave, perfect wife. My husband, Zara replied. My dangerous, devoted, complicated husband. They made love as married people, and it felt different, deeper, more permanent, like they'd signed their souls over to each other in ink and blood and promises. Afterward, lying tangled together, Min-jae spoke quietly. I have to tell you something. Zara's heart clenched. What? I know who Ji-hoon's biological father is. She sat up. What? How? I had DNA tests run. Checked everyone who Mi-sun knew. Everyone she worked with. Min-jae's expression was dark. It was one of Daewon's men. A guy named Kim Jae-sung. He and Mi-sun had been having an affair for 6 months before she got pregnant. Does he know? He knew. He tried to blackmail her, threatened to tell Daewon unless she left with him. Min-jae's jaw clenched. Daewon found out. They fought. And 3 days later, Daewon and Mi-sun died in that accident. Zara's blood ran cold. The Kozlovs didn't kill them? The Kozlovs did kill them. But Kim Jae-sung gave them the information they needed. Told them Daewon's route. His schedule. He sold out my brother to the Russians. Where is he now? Min-jae's silence was answer enough. You killed him, Zara whispered. Last week, while you thought I was dealing with the Kozlovs. Min-jae's voice was flat. He confessed everything before he died. How he seduced Mi-sun. How he planned to steal Ji-hoon and raise him with her. How he gave the Kozlovs the information because he thought with Daewon dead, Mi-sun would turn to him. But Mi-sun died too. He didn't know she was going into labor that day. Didn't know the accident would kill her too. When he found out, he went into hiding. Min-jae's hands clenched. But I found him. And I made him pay for every choice that led to my brother's death. Zara should have been horrified. Should have questioned what kind of man she'd just married. But she thought about Daewon and Mi-sun, dying because of betrayal. Thought about Ji-hoon, orphaned before he could even open his eyes. Thought about all the pain that could have been avoided if one man hadn't been selfish and cruel. Good, she said quietly. I'm glad he's dead. Min-jae looked at her with something like awe. You're not afraid of me? Not disgusted by what I've done? I'm afraid of losing you. I'm disgusted by people who hurt innocent people. Zara cupped his face. But you're just a man protecting his family. I could never be disgusted by that. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. She kissed him. You deserve to be happy, Min-jae. You deserve to be loved. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that to you. They held each other through the night. 2 broken people who'd found wholeness in each other. 2 souls who'd survived violence and loss and emerged on the other side, still capable of love. And in the nursery down the hall, Ji-hoon slept peacefully, unaware that his entire life had just been secured by the 2 people who loved him most. Tomorrow, the adoption papers would be filed. Tomorrow, Ji-hoon would legally become their son. Tomorrow, their forever would truly begin. But tonight, they were just a family. Imperfect, complicated, forged in blood and milk and desperate choices, but a family nonetheless. And that was everything. 6 months later, Zara woke to the sound of Ji-hoon babbling in his crib and the smell of coffee brewing. For a moment, she just lay there, savoring the ordinary miracle of a peaceful morning. 6 months. Half a year since that desperate night in the diner. Half a year since Min-jae had walked into her life carrying a dying baby and changed everything. She stretched, feeling the slight soreness in her breasts. Ji-hoon was 9 months old now, still nursing but starting to eat solid foods. He'd be weaned soon, and the thought made Zara's chest ache with bittersweet emotion. That physical connection, the bond they'd formed through nursing, would change, evolve, but it wouldn't disappear. She was his mother now, legally, officially, completely. The adoption had been finalized 3 weeks ago. Judge Morrison had looked at the mountains of evidence, the medical records showing Zara as Ji-hoon's primary caregiver, the testimony from pediatricians about the baby's thriving development, the character witnesses, the home studies, and she'd looked at Min-jae and Zara sitting together holding hands, Ji-hoon on Zara's lap reaching for his father. This is unusual, Judge Morrison had said. A wet nurse becoming an adoptive mother. A crime boss, yes, Mr. Kang. I know who you are trying to go legitimate. A family formed from tragedy and necessity. Zara's heart had seized. Was she going to deny them? But Judge Morrison had smiled. It's also beautiful. This child is loved, healthy, and thriving, and sometimes, the best families are the ones we choose, not the ones we're born into. She'd signed the papers. Congratulations, you're officially parents. Zara had burst into tears. Min-jae had held her and Ji-hoon both, his own eyes wet. And Grace, sitting in the gallery, had wiped her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Jesus." Now Zara rolled out of bed and pulled on Min Jae's discarded shirt from the night before. It smelled like him cedar and soap and home. She padded to the nursery. Ji-hoon was standing in his crib, holding onto the rails. When he saw her, his face lit up with a smile that showed 4 tiny teeth. "Mama," he crowed. His first word spoken 3 weeks ago, and still the most beautiful sound Zara had ever heard. "Good morning, my beautiful boy." Zara lifted him out, kissing his chubby cheeks. "Did you sleep well?" Ji-hoon babbled something incomprehensible and patted her face. She changed his diaper, dressed him in soft cotton overalls, and carried him to the kitchen. Min Jae was there, shirtless in pajama pants, making breakfast. Grace sat at the island with coffee, reading the newspaper. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that Zara had to pause and drink it in. This was her life now. This impossible, beautiful life. "Morning," Min Jae said, turning to kiss her. He tasted like coffee and mint. "How'd you sleep?" "Like the dead. You wore me out last night." Grace made a disgusted sound. "I don't need to hear about my daughter's sex life. Thank you." "Sorry." "Mama." Zara wasn't sorry at all. She sat at the island with Ji-hoon on her lap. "What are you cooking?" "Korean pancakes and scrambled eggs. Your mother requested ackee, but we're out. I'll make a grocery run later," Grace said. She'd been living with them for 3 months now, having decided that Atlanta suited her better than Kingston. She'd gotten a job at a nursing home in Buckhead and kept threatening to get her own apartment, but somehow never did. Zara suspected Min Jae was paying her more than she admitted to stay. He liked having Grace around, said she kept him honest, made him remember there were consequences for his choices. "Boss, we have a problem." Tae-young appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. He'd learned to knock first after walking in on Min Jae and Zara in a compromising position last month. "What kind of problem?" Min Jae's voice shifted. "Businessman replacing husband. The container shipment from Busan. Customs is flagging it. They want additional documentation." Min Jae sighed. "Legal headaches are worse than illegal ones. At least with illegal, I knew who to bribe." He looked at Zara apologetically. "I need to handle this." "Go." She shooed him away. "Ji-hoon and I will survive without you for a few hours." He kissed her again, longer this time. "I love you." "Love you too." After he left, Grace looked at Zara over her newspaper. "He's different now, softer." "He's trying," Zara said. "Going legitimate isn't easy. He's had to cut ties with people he's known for years, had to turn down opportunities that would have made him millions. But he's doing it for you and Ji-hoon. He's doing it for himself too." Zara fed Ji-hoon pieces of banana. "He said he wants to be the kind of man Ji-hoon can admire, the kind who builds things instead of destroying them." Grace smiled. "He's a good man, Zara. Took me a while to see it, but he is. High praise from you, Mama. Don't let it go to his head." That afternoon, Zara had a doctor's appointment. Nothing serious, just a routine checkup. But as she sat in the examination room, the doctor asked a question that made her heart stop. "When was your last period, Mrs. Kang?" Zara thought back. With the stress of the wedding, the adoption, everything with the Kozlovs. "I don't know. Maybe 8 weeks ago? 9? The doctor's expression shifted. "And you're still breastfeeding?" "Yes, but less than before. Ji-hoon's eating more solid food." The doctor made notes. "Mrs. Kang, I'd like to run a pregnancy test, just to be safe." Zara's world tilted. "Pregnant? But I'm nursing." "I thought that prevented. It reduces the chances, but it's not foolproof, especially if you're nursing less frequently." The doctor handed her a cup. "Let's just check." 10 minutes later, the doctor returned with a smile. "Congratulations, Mrs. Kang. You're about 10 weeks pregnant." Zara couldn't breathe. Pregnant. She was pregnant with Min Jae's baby. "Are you okay?" the doctor asked. "Is this good news?" "I don't know." Zara's hands shook. "We just adopted Ji-hoon. We're still adjusting. Min Jae is trying to transition his business. And her voice broke. "I lost my daughter. Aaliyah died after 6 hours. What if this baby dies too? What if I can't?" "Zara." The doctor took her hand. "Aaliyah's death was tragic, but it was due to extreme prematurity. There's no indication you'll have the same complications this time." She squeezed gently. "You're healthy, strong, and from what I've seen in your file, you have an excellent support system. You can do this." Zara drove home in a daze. Pregnant. She was going to have Min-jae's baby, a child that was biologically theirs, not just adopted, a sibling for Ji-hoon. Terror and joy warred in her chest. When she got home, Min-jae was in his office on a video call. He saw her through the glass and mouthed, 5 minutes. Zara nodded. She fed Ji-hoon dinner, bathed him, got him ready for bed. Grace watched her carefully. Something's wrong, Grace said. What happened at the doctor? Nothing's wrong. Zara's voice was too high. Everything's fine. Zara Marie Kang, I'm your mother. I know when you're lying. Before Zara could answer, Min-jae emerged from his office. Sorry about that. The suppliers in Korea are being difficult. He saw Zara's face and his expression changed immediately. What's wrong? What did the doctor say? I'm pregnant, Zara blurted out. 10 weeks. Due in about 7 months. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Min-jae stared at her. Grace's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. Even Ji-hoon, in Zara's arms, seemed to sense the magnitude of the moment and went quiet. Pregnant, Min-jae repeated slowly. You're pregnant. With our baby. Yes. Our biological child. Yes. Min-jae crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms, careful of Ji-hoon between them. You're pregnant, he said again, and this time his voice cracked with emotion. We're having a baby. Are you happy? Zara asked. I know we didn't plan this. We just got Ji-hoon settled, and you're trying to go legitimate. And, Min-jae kissed her, cutting off her rambling. When he pulled back, there were tears on his face. I'm terrified and ecstatic and completely overwhelmed. But yes, Zara, I'm happy. So happy I can't even find words for it. Grace stood and took Ji-hoon from Zara's arms. I'm going to put this one to bed. You two need to talk. She paused at the doorway. And congratulations. Both of you. You're going to be wonderful parents. Again. After Grace left, Min-jae led Zara to the couch and pulled her into his lap. Tell me everything. What did the doctor say? Are you healthy? Is the baby healthy? Everything looks good so far. But Min-jae... Zara's voice broke. Aaliyah died. What if this baby... Stop. He cupped her face. Aaliyah's death wasn't your fault. And this baby has every chance of being healthy and perfect. We have the best doctors, the best care, and I'll be with you every step of the way. I'm scared. So am I. Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. But we'll be scared together, just like we've done everything else. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, processing the magnitude of this new life growing inside Zara. A baby made from love instead of loss. A child who would have both parents from the beginning. Ji-hoon's going to be a big brother, Zara said softly. Min-jae smiled. He'll be amazing at it. He's already so gentle and sweet. Because you're teaching him to be. We're teaching him. Min-jae's hand moved to Zara's still flat stomach. And we'll teach this one too. Teach them both to be better than I was. To choose love over violence. To build instead of destroy. You're already better than you were, Zara said. Look at everything you've changed. You're going legitimate. You haven't killed anyone in 6 months. You're building a real business, a real life. Because of you. He kissed her softly. You made me want to be better. No, you did that yourself. I just loved you while you figured it out. 3 months later, Ji-hoon's first birthday party was chaos in the best possible way. Grace had insisted on inviting everyone, Min-jae's business associates, Zara's friends from church, the neighbors from their new house in Brookhaven, even Taeyang and some of Min-jae's former men who'd gone legitimate with him. The backyard was decorated with balloons and streamers. A bouncy castle dominated one corner. Tables groaned under the weight of food, Korean, Jamaican, and everything in between. Ji-hoon, dressed in a tiny hanbok, sat in his high chair with a smash cake in front of him. He looked at it suspiciously, poked it with one finger, then promptly shoved both hands into the frosting and smeared it all over his face. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. Zara, now visibly pregnant at 5 months, stood with Min-jae's arm around her waist. He's perfect, she whispered. He's ours, Min-jae replied. That's what makes him perfect. Grace appeared with a camera, snapping photos. My grandson, making a mess, just like his father used to. I was a very neat child, Min-jae protested. I've seen the photos your mother left. You were a terror. Grace smiled. But a loved terror. Just like Ji-hoon. As the party continued, Zara found herself standing apart for a moment, watching. Ji-hoon was laughing, covered in cake, surrounded by people who loved him. Min-jae was talking with Taeyang, discussing the new shipping contract they'd secured, completely legal, completely legitimate. Grace was teaching some of the Korean women how to make rum cake. This was family. Messy, complicated, forged from tragedy and choice, but family nonetheless. "Mrs. Kang?" A woman's voice interrupted her thoughts. Zara turned. A Korean woman in her 60s stood there, elegant and composed. Zara didn't recognize her. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" "No, but I knew your husband's mother." The woman's smile was sad. "I'm Lee Sun-hee. I was her best friend before she died." Zara's heart clenched. Min-jae rarely talked about his mother. "Would you like to meet Min-jae?" "I already did. Spoke to him briefly when I arrived." Sun-hee looked at Ji-hoon. "His mother would have loved that baby. Would have loved you, too." "You're kind to say that." "I'm being honest." Sun-hee took Zara's hand. Min-jae's mother always worried about her sons. Worried they'd be consumed by the family business. That they'd never know real love or have real families. Her eyes glistened. "But look at what you've built. A child who knows nothing but love. A home filled with laughter." Min-jae choosing to walk away from violence. She squeezed Zara's hand. "You gave him what his mother always wanted for him. Peace." Tears streamed down Zara's face. "I just love him. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes love is the only thing that can save us." Sun-hee left shortly after, but her words stayed with Zara. Love was the only thing that could save us. It had saved Min-jae, had saved her, had saved Ji-hoon, and it would save the baby growing inside her too. 5 months later, the birth. Zara went into labor at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. "This is your fault," she gasped at Min-jae as another contraction hit. "You and your—" She couldn't finish the sentence, pain stealing her words. Min-jae held her hand, his face pale. "I know. I'm sorry. I'll never touch you again." "You better touch me again," Zara panted as the contraction eased. "Or I'll kill you." Grace appeared in the doorway. "Labor makes women say things they don't mean. You'll forgive him later." She handed Zara a wet cloth. "How far apart are the contractions?" 4 minutes. Min-jae checked his watch. "We should go to the hospital. We should wait a bit longer," Grace said calmly. "First babies take time. No need to rush." But Min-jae was already grabbing the hospital bag, calling his driver, waking up the guards. Within 15 minutes, they were in the car heading to Emory Hospital. Taeyang stayed behind with Ji-hoon, who was sleeping peacefully, unaware his world was about to expand. The labor was long. 12 hours of pain and fear, and Min-jae refusing to leave her side even when the nurses suggested he take a break. He held her hand, fed her ice chips, whispered encouragements in Korean and English. "You're so strong," he murmured. "So brave. Just a little longer." "My love." "I can't," Zara sobbed. "Min-jae, I can't do this. What if the baby dies like Aaliyah? What if—" "The baby won't die." Min-jae's voice was fierce. "Do you hear me? Our daughter is strong. She's a fighter, just like her mother." Daughter. They'd found out the gender last month. A girl. Min-jae had cried when the ultrasound tech told them, had pressed his face against Zara's belly and whispered promises to their daughter in Korean. At 3:47 p.m., after one final agonizing push, their daughter entered the world screaming. "She's perfect," the doctor said, holding up a squirming, angry, absolutely beautiful baby girl, completely healthy, strong lungs. They placed her on Zara's chest, and the world stopped. This tiny person, with Min-jae's dark hair and Zara's nose, with lungs that worked and a heart that beat strong. Alive, healthy, theirs. "Hi, baby," Zara whispered through tears. "Hi, my beautiful girl. I'm your mama." The baby stopped crying, her dark eyes trying to focus on Zara's face. Min-jae touched his daughter's tiny hand, and she gripped his finger. "Hello, Aaliyah Grace Kang," he said softly. "They'd agreed on the name weeks ago. I'm your appa, and I promise to protect you always." Grace, who'd been in the waiting room, burst into the delivery room. When she saw the baby, saw her namesake and her lost granddaughter honored in this new life, she sobbed. "She's beautiful," Grace whispered. "Perfect. Oh, Zara. Oh, my sweet baby. You did it." The nurse took Aaliyah to clean her up and check her vitals. Every second she was gone, Zara's anxiety spiked. But when they brought her back, wrapped in a pink blanket and making little mewling sounds, all the fear melted away. "She wants to nurse," the nurse said. helping Zara position the baby. Aaliyah latched immediately, and the familiar sensation of nursing flooded Zara with bittersweet emotion. She'd nursed Jihoon for 11 months before weaning him. Now she was starting again with her daughter. Min-jae sat on the edge of the hospital bed, one arm around Zara, watching their daughter nurse. "We made her," he said, wonder in his voice. "We created this perfect human being." "She's not perfect," Zara said, but she was smiling. "Look, she already has your stubborn chin, and your beautiful eyes. We don't know what color they'll be yet. Doesn't matter." Min-jae kissed Zara's temple. "She's ours. That makes her perfect." Grace took photos until the nurse made her stop. Then she called everyone friends, family, even Taeyang at the house. "Jihoon has a sister," she announced proudly. "And she's absolutely perfect." 1 year later, the house in Brookhaven was chaos on Sunday mornings. Jihoon, now 2 years old, ran through the hallways shouting in Korean and English. Aaliyah, nearly 1, crawled after him laughing. Grace was in the kitchen making breakfast. Min-jae was trying to catch both children for diaper changes and baths. "Jihoon, come back here," Min-jae called, chasing his son through the living room. "No, catch me, Appa!" Jihoon shrieked with laughter. Zara sat on the couch, sipping coffee and watching the chaos with a smile. This was her life now. 2 beautiful children. A husband who'd left crime behind and built a legitimate import-export empire. A mother who'd become her best friend. A home filled with love and laughter. Min-jae finally caught Jihoon and tossed him over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. The boy squealed with delight. Then Min-jae scooped up Aaliyah with his other arm. 2 children, 1 on each side, both giggling. He looked at Zara, and his expression went soft. "I love you," he mouthed. "Love you too," she mouthed back. "Mama!" Aaliyah reached for Zara, and Min-jae brought her over. The baby snuggled into Zara's chest, content. Jihoon squirmed down and ran to the kitchen. "Halmioni, food! That boy is going to eat me out of house and home," Grace called. Just like his father. Min-jae sat next to Zara, pulling her against his side. "Happy?" Deliriously, Zara leaned into him. "You? More than I ever thought possible." He kissed her hair. 4 years ago I was alone and broken. Day 1 had just died. Jihoon was dying. I thought my life was over. And now? Now I have everything. Min-jae's arm tightened around her. "A wife I adore, 2 beautiful children, a business I'm proud of. A real life, Zara. Not just existing, actually living. We built it together." "You built me," he corrected. "I was just pieces in destruction. You put me back together." "That's not true. You did the work. You chose to change. Because you made me want to." Min-jae turned her face to his. "Thank you for saving Jihoon that night. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for choosing this life, even when it was dangerous and terrifying. Thank you for loving me," Zara whispered. "For making me feel alive again when I thought I'd died with Aaliyah." "The first Aaliyah gave you the capacity to love our daughter," Min-jae said gently. "She's not forgotten. She's honored. Every time you hold our Aaliyah, Grace, you honor that first perfect baby." Tears slid down Zara's cheeks. "I wish she could have met her sister." "Maybe she did. Maybe that's why our Aaliyah is so perfect. Her big sister sent her to us. It was a beautiful thought." Zara held on to it. 5 years later. Epilogue. Jihoon was 7 years old, tall for his age and fluent in 3 languages. Aaliyah was 6, precocious and fearless. And their youngest sibling, Marcus Daewon Kang, was 3, named for Zara's father and Min-jae's brother, a bridge between their families. The Kang Import-Export Company had offices in 5 cities. Completely legitimate, completely successful. Min-jae had built an empire on honest business, and his former associates who'd gone straight with him were thriving. Grace had her own apartment now but visited daily. She'd become a fixture in Atlanta's Jamaican-Korean community, teaching cooking classes and matchmaking with equal enthusiasm. And Zara had finally finished her nursing degree. She worked part-time at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, specializing in NICU care, helping other mothers whose babies were born too early, giving them hope when everything seemed hopeless. It was Sunday evening, and the whole family was gathered in the backyard. Min-jae was grilling bulgogi while Jihoon helped. Aaliyah was teaching Marcus how to kick a soccer ball. Grace was setting the table. Zara stood apart for a moment, watching her family. Her beautiful, chaotic, impossible family. "You look thoughtful," Min-jae said, appearing beside her with a glass of wine. "Just grateful." Zara took the wine. "Thinking about how different my life could have been." "Different how?" If I hadn't been working that night, if you'd gone to a different diner, if I'd said no when you asked for help. Zara leaned into him. We almost never happened, Minjae. We were one choice away from being strangers. But we did happen. Minjae's arm came around her waist. And I thank God every day that you were in that diner, that you were brave enough to feed a stranger's dying baby, that you were crazy enough to fall in love with a gangster. Former gangster. Still dangerous, though. He nipped her ear, just in different ways. Zara laughed. The kids are watching. They're distracted. Grace, too. Minjae turned her to face him. I love you, Zara Kang. More today than yesterday. More tomorrow than today. Forever. Forever, Zara echoed. That's a long time. Not long enough. He kissed her as the sun set over their backyard, their children playing, their family whole and safe and happy. This life they'd built from blood and milk and desperate choices, from tragedy and terror and the stubborn refusal to give up. 20 feet away, Ji-hoon paused in his playing and smiled. He didn't remember that first night in the diner. Didn't remember being a dying baby saved by a grieving woman's milk, but he knew his mama loved him. Knew his appa would protect him always. Knew his siblings were his best friends. And that was enough. Appa, Mama, come play, Aaliyah called, waving her soccer ball. Yeah, family game, Marcus echoed, not quite understanding but enthusiastic anyway. Minjae and Zara broke apart, grinning at each other. Duty calls, Minjae said. Best duty ever, Zara replied. They joined their children on the grass, Grace watching from the porch with a smile. The evening air was warm, filled with laughter and the smell of grilled meat and growing flowers. This was happiness, Zara thought. Not perfect, not without scars from the past, but real and precious and hard-won. She'd lost everything once. Her daughter, her dreams, her sense of purpose. But from that loss, she'd found everything that mattered. A family, a love deeper than she'd known existed, a life worth living. The universe had put her in that diner at 2:47 a.m. for a reason, had placed a dying baby in her arms and a dangerous man at her table, had given her one more chance at motherhood, at love, at redemption, and she'd taken it, had chosen bravery over safety, love over fear, hope over despair, had chosen Minjae and Ji-hoon and this beautiful, complicated, perfect life. As the stars came out over Atlanta and their children's laughter filled the air, Zara sent up a silent prayer of thanks, for second chances, for unexpected families, for the mysterious grace that turns our deepest losses into our greatest blessings, for love that saves us when we least expect it, for the courage to say yes when the universe offers us a chance to begin again, and for the man beside her who'd walked out of darkness into light, carrying a baby and a heart ready to love again. This was her forever. Hard-won, blood-soaked, built on ashes, and reborn in joy. And she wouldn't change a single moment of the journey that brought her here. Not one. The end. Author's note. Thank you for joining Zara and Minjae on their journey from that desperate night in a diner to their beautiful forever. Their story reminds us that sometimes our greatest blessings come from our darkest moments, that families are built not just by blood, but by choice and love and the courage to say yes to hope. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, second chances, and love that conquers all, please like, subscribe, and share. Drop a comment telling us, what was your favorite moment? Where are you watching from? And should we create more stories like this where broken people find wholeness in each other? Remember, your past doesn't define your future. Your losses don't limit your capacity for joy. And sometimes, the family you choose is the family you were always meant to have. Until next time, may you find the courage to say yes when love comes calling, even if it's unexpected, even if it's dangerous, even if it changes everything. Because the best love stories are the ones that transform us.